The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Hello, welcome to Meet the Author. I'm Chris Saxe, and today I'm here with Stacey Morris, the author of not only Clean Comfort, but her new book, Sweet Comfort. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're getting off to a healthy start.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Your first book, it was basically vegan and no cow dairy, is that right?
No. I mean, some of the recipes are vegan, definitely, because I just like to eat more plants. I think it's healthier and good for you. But there are meatball recipes in there and meatloaf and some chicken recipes. So it's a blend. And I really, the big crux of my story is the 180 pounds that I have dropped and kept off for almost 7 years now.
7 years.
Yeah.
180 pounds off for 7 years, so this is something to listen to.
Yeah, and the book evolved really out of the emails I would get from people saying, I want recipes, tell me how you eat, tell me how you did it. So the first book, Clean Comfort, which is this one, that's a little bit of my story. It's part memoir, and it's about 75 recipes, which model how I eat. And I do eat gluten-free, and I do eat cow dairy-free, but I'm not vegan. I'm not completely paleo. I'm not even sure what that is, but I eat in a way that feels clean to me, that nourishes my body and keeps the weight off, but it also has to taste good.
Right.
So food definitely, it's important to have meals that you look forward to, but I also want them to do something for me, beyond just tasting good.
Yes,
so
full of flavor, and you have protein so that you are filled.
Protein, healthy fats, fiber, just really good ingredients that are, foods that you make at home that are not, a big part of my change was not doing the drive-thrus all the time, not doing takeout, because that kind of food is usually loaded with sodium and unhealthy fats, and they're just very caloric.
Anything you eat out, pretty much.
And it gets
Although
expensive,
it's starting
too.
to get better, but we're still not there with the food they eat out.
Yeah, it is getting better. That is good. I love it when I travel now and I stop on the thruway and I'll see hard-boiled eggs at the newsstand instead of just candy bars and potato chips.
Right.
Sometimes I'll even see crudité, cut up vegetables in little canisters ready to go. So it is getting better.
It's always good too.
It's getting better. But I'm a writer and a recipe developer, and so many people have a sweet tooth, and they want to enjoy desserts for either a snack or after a meal. But the desserts that are out there are some of them are just horrendous with the sugar content and absolutely no fiber, nothing beneficial. I mean, all they do is kind of dazzle your taste buds for a few minutes, but then what happens as your body's digesting all that stuff, and it adds up. I mean, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket, but people, I think our culture has gotten so acclimated to too much sugar that is starting to taste normal.
And it's an addiction.
And it's very addictive. It is more addictive, experts say, than heroin. And it lights up, it stimulates the brain in a similar way that heroin does, which is why it's so hard to really get off it completely. And that's not what I'm advocating at all. No. But cutting back on the amounts.
And other substitutes you offer in your book, Sweet Comfort, the second book. Yeah. You have other substitutes that you could put in your recipes other than white sugar.
White sugar, yeah. I don't put any white sugar in these recipes. These are 44 recipes they're still gluten-free and they're still cow dairy free. Like, for example, this whipped cream here is made from coconut milk. And it's delicious. I mean, my family loves it, and they don't even necessarily always eat the way I do, but they love the coconut whipped cream.
Sounds delicious.
It is. And I have a glossary in the back of the book which explains what the types of sweeteners I use are, like the blackstrap molasses, which none of these are low calorie, but they have a little more going for them than white sugar. Blackstrap molasses has iron and sulfur and just nutrients.
That's good.
Versus white sugar has nothing. Coconut palm sugar is very similar in taste and appearance to brown sugar, but it doesn't spike your blood sugar the way white sugar does. It's just lower on the glycemic index, and it tastes delicious.
Oh, that's great.
And again, not low calorie, but it's better for you, and that's the whole idea.
And where can you buy these?
Now you can buy them at any supermarket.
That's great.
We were just in Walmart the other day, and we're really amazed at how many quote health foods are now available. Hemp hearts, coconut palm sugar, chia seeds. It's on the shelves at mainstream markets. And then,
great.
of course, you can also, as always, get them at places like Honest Weight Food Co-op, Healthy Living, Whole Foods. That's always been the case.
That's great. So I was talking to you about stevia. That's a new sweetener that's kind of been promoted in the media, and you said that it's made from...
It's made from the stevia plant. I mean, you can actually grow it at home if you want.
Wow.
In your kitchen and steep it and make your own stevia drops. I use stevia drops for baking. Sometimes I'll make a recipe all stevia if I'm really being careful and want to keep my sugar grams at a minimum, or I'll blend it with coconut palm sugar so I'm not getting quite as much sugar. It's basically zero carbs. It's an acquired taste. Some people really dislike it, but if you're diabetic, if you're a cancer survivor, or if you're recovering from cancer, most patients are told you've got to just eliminate sugar because that cancer feeds on sugar. So if you're in some sort of medical situation where sugar's a no-no, stevia is a great option because it's not chemical. It's a plant.
And always honey has been something they're finding how healthy it is for you too.
Honey's antibacterial. It's not, low on the glycemic, but it does have nutrients, and it's from a natural source. So honey's a great option.
And they also say it can help with your allergies too.
Absolutely, especially local honey. If you really want to improve your allergies, buy something local. There's something about the pollination from the local plants. When you ingest the honey, it helps your immune system.
That's wonderful.
And maple syrup is a good one because that's natural.
And delicious.
It tastes wonderful. Yeah.
It does. So I noticed in the beginning of the book, it was so interesting that you have a section with the nutritionist Nancy Guberti. Am I saying that right?
Yes, that's right.
And it talks about the effects of sugar on your body and mind. And I was really amazed about this section. It's so wonderful to learn so many things about the dangers of sugar and what it actually does to your body.
It's not just harmless fun like we've been kind of led to believe by the commercials and the foods that are out there. It really does. It's very difficult for the body to process big amounts of it, especially the liver. It's very hard on the liver. And I mentioned in my foreword, there's a wonderful article that everyone should Google by the New York Times writer Mark Bittman. And it's titled something like, "Is Alzheimer's the Type 3 Diabetes?" Because they're finding now, we eat so much more sugar than we did 20 years ago. It's in drinks, it's in condiments. There's so much fun food out there that's pushed on us, cookies, cakes.
Cupcakes are a big fad now.
Cupcakes are huge. And even I was doing research for a blog on some of the sugary coffee drinks that are out there.
That's true.
Some of those large coffee drinks have 115 grams of sugar just for one drink. And my nutritionist, Nancy Guberti, says a healthy range is like 35 per day.
Wow.
And it's not easy to do if you're eating, what's out there. But because we're getting just overloaded with sugar grams, that's overloading the liver. and the liver can't process it all. So it basically, you know, the toxins that normally get cleansed through the liver get dispersed and leave the brain vulnerable. And they're finding that, you know, Alzheimer's could be the result of just too much stuff.
That's so interesting because it's in my family, and so
mine too.
Yeah, and it's scary.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have, you know, the body's pretty resilient and can chug along on not all engines working right, but eventually it will catch up to you. And I've seen it happen with my parents' generation.
Right.
You know, suddenly it's just like, no more. I can't. So I don't want, I look at this as, you know, I want to maintain my weight, but for people without a weight issue, it's sound eating and it's preventive medicine too.
Absolutely, and there's so much. We're learning so much about how food can help us and keep us healthy.
Yeah, it's meant to be medicine. And ultimately,
really,
it's going to help you or harm you, but also it's a sensory experience. You can't. I mean, I tried looking at food as just objective fuel, and it's not, because we have taste buds. You know, we want to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
That's natural, and which is why I created some of these recipes, which have they have a range. You know, some like the carrot cake are pretty decadent. You know, and that's for like special occasions or when you really have a craving. Others, which are bean-based, lentil-based, are a little more clean and sparse.
Yes. Now the one I really loved, you have a turmeric snack cake, and there's a lot being said about turmeric in the media that it can be anti-cancer, very good for you in so many things. I just want to read some of the ingredients. You have garbanzo beans, eggs, coconut oil, some stevia, vanilla, baking powder, salt, and turmeric.
Right.
And that's a dessert.
That's a dessert. and there is definitely, I had to do it myself, there's a learning curve and a palate curve. I mean, if you go from Twinkies to that, you know, it's going to it's going to taste really strange and probably not sweet enough, probably not dazzling enough. But I had to wean myself off of sugar. Even when I was after I had the weight loss, I was eating lots of gluten-free cupcakes, and I realized, wow, I've gone overboard with sugar, so I had to scale back. But I did it gradually.
Even though they're gluten-free, they may still have a lot of sugar.
Loaded with sugar, and that's why they taste so good.
I bought some great gluten-free cupcakes from Trader Joe's. I'm like, wow, these are better than my regular cupcakes. And there you go, it's loaded with sugar.
Yeah. So I had to really take a look, and as I got older, and you know, as we get older, our metabolism slow down. So
unfortunately,
I couldn't eat the way I ate, you know, 6 years ago
or 20 years ago.
But
and it's so interesting, though. You mentioned that your immune function, sugar, is not good for the immune function. It interferes with your immune function.
And again, it's the overload. I mean, I'm not saying we have to just cut it out, because that's not realistic. I actually did cut sugar out for almost 2 years, and it was just too difficult.
You were missing it too much.
Yeah, I was missing it. And so I've taken a little bit of it back. Like I'll put honey in my coffee now instead of stevia, because honey's good for you and it just tastes good. And sometimes I'll bake with coconut palm sugar. But that's about as far as I'll go. I just don't want to go back to the processed cupcakes, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and my body just doesn't really like it. You know, it's like, what are you doing? You know, when I do give it too much sugar.
The other thing I read, which was so interesting, is that sugar accelerates aging of your skin and brain.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. And I look at your skin and it's so beautiful. And I look at my wrinkles. I'm like, I better stop eating sugar.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, there are no real benefits to sugar. I mean, and even if you cut it completely out, you will get enough of it from fruit. It occurs in nature, so you know, we do need it, but we were never meant to eat huge amounts of white sugar. Or flour, which, even though there are wonderful gluten-free options for cakes, and I use that in my book, but I also like to use the lentil-based desserts, because that's, again, easier on the body. Lentils have fiber. They have vitamins, nutrients. It's not so hard for your body to process, and it gives it something to grab onto in terms of nutrition.
Yeah, and there's so much being said about beans and how good they are for
Yeah,
us.
very good. And so
That's
there are some
interesting.
lentil-based desserts, and they're flour-based. And there are, like these are, I love these, the quinoa muffins. They're delicious. And quinoa is a great, wonderful grain, which has fiber, nutrients.
And they look like they come
good.
out
They're
wonderful. I
actually-
made something with gluten-free flour once, and it came out like a big flop. So, but yours come out beautifully, really.
Yeah, and it's, again, not the kind of muffins you're going to get at your bakery. I mean,
Right.
those are almost like eating a cake because
They
they're
are.
very sugary, lots of fat. I'm not against fat at all, but I'm pro healthy fat.
True.
So I'll use, avocados, coconut oil, shredded coconut. All that stuff is really good for you.
Well, this book, I can't say enough about it. It's just so smart. So smart to go to this when you want to make something. You have a zucchini tea cake in here, which looks
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that was really delicious. We tried it over the summer when, zucchini's everywhere. But you can get it year-round at the supermarket.
Right.
And I'm not the biggest vegetable lover, so I'm always looking for ways that I can sneak them in.
Right.
So this is a great way to get a little fiber.
I love zucchini. So.
Yeah. So
And it has eggs, vanilla, olive oil, which has been said to be very healthy.
Yeah.
You've got your coconut, palm sugar, salt, baking soda, baking powder, and gluten-free flour, which you can buy again at the supermarket.
Oh,
or you
yeah,
just-
anywhere. They have
the
all-
Bob's Red Mill, is that?
Bob's Red Mill is great. King Arthur has a great all-purpose
Oh, they do.
gluten-free flour, even Bisquick.
Oh, that's good to know. See,
Yeah.
I have to learn all this. And then you have shredded zucchini.
Yep. And again,
definitely-
gluten-free is a different texture, so it's going to be a more dense cake. And some people don't like that, but I'd rather feel better.
It's an acquired taste, and once you get used to it, like you said, then you don't want to go back. And you have a molasses cake that looks amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's like a spice cake, and I sweeten it with molasses, and if you really want a treat, top it with coconut whipped cream. It's like a gingerbread cake.
That sounds amazing.
And Chef Bill, who collaborates with me on the recipes, he doesn't really always eat this way and doesn't always, he doesn't always enjoy some of my cleaner desserts. That one he loves.
Okay.
And he loves the whipped cream.
I'll have to try the molasses cake. I have a friend who's and her son, they're very much into eating healthy, and they made a dessert for me, and it was really delicious. I think it had avocado in it and mint, and it was very refreshing. It wasn't typical, but it was delicious. And you brought for us today a...
Yeah, this doesn't, it's not the most photogenic. It didn't travel
No.
so well. But this is the cheesecake that's in the book, and it's vegan. And again, I eat vegan sometimes, not all the time, but I don't do cow dairy really very seldom because I just can't digest it. It's not,
Yeah, they're finding it's not as healthy for us, which we've been eating cow dairy all our lives, and our parents were saying, drink your milk, drink your milk, drink your milk. So now we're finding...
And also cream cheese was one of my binge foods, and I just really, it's a psychological thing. I'd rather just not do it. So this is made from vegan cream cheese, sugar-free Jell-O pudding, vanilla. I threw some protein powder in there, for a little nutritional value.
Right.
Eggs, and the crust is made from crushed gluten-free flake cereal, coconut flour, and coconut oil.
Oh.
So it's a little mock-up of a graham cracker crust with a lot more going on nutritionally. There's fiber in there, there's protein, because I use quinoa flake cereal, which sometimes you have to look for that. That might not be at the supermarket. You would find it at Whole Foods or Honest Weight.
Oh, that's good to know.
Probably.
And they're right here, right in
Yeah.
our area. And tell me also, it's interesting that you do Diamond Dallas Page yoga, and you continue to do that along with eating clean.
Yeah, because that is, that was a big help in getting the weight off. But I actually did yoga before my weight loss. It was just, there's so many forms, and I did a very gentle form called Kundalini yoga, which really helped get me, back into my body and befriending my body. You know, it was a good way for me to start. But when I was ready to really drop the weight, the DDP yoga, it's a little more strenuous. It's cardio, but it's non-impact. There's no jumping around. It doesn't compromise your joints. So anyone can do it at pretty much any size. You just have to modify, which I did in the beginning. Now that the weight is off, I like it because it's energizing and it's very de-aging. If you want to really age in reverse.
I do.
Do
We all
DDP
probably
yoga.
do. Yeah.
There are so many people. My mentor, Terry Lang, she started this when she was 50. And she looked kind of like a chubby, middle-aged woman. Now she's in her early 60s. She looks like she's in her 30s.
Wow.
I mean, she's literally aging in reverse.
And I think you have too. I mean, when I just love the way your skin looks. You look gorgeous. And I think so it's testament that I want to start doing these things.
And I'm 51, and I look better. I have the photographic evidence to prove it. I look better now than I did in my 20s.
It's fantastic.
You know? But it takes discipline. I mean, I don't work out. Sometimes all I have is 25 minutes for a DDP Yoga DVD for one of the shorter ones.
And you can order the DVDs online?
Yeah, you can just Google ddpyoga.com. And they now have an app, you know, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad. But sometimes all I have is 25 minutes, and that's what I do. Sometimes I'll do it for an hour and a half. I'll take a walk. I mix it up. I like to move now, and the body really does want to move. It's like retraining your palate with the sugar. It's necessary sometimes if you've been sedentary to retrain it into liking movement. But once you cross that bridge, then your body wants to keep moving.
It does.
And it's not even about the weight in the long run. It's about keeping your body strong, limber, and
as you age.
yeah, because like I said, you know, and I see this with some of my parents, their generation. There comes a point, and I've seen it, where the body just says can't do it anymore. And walking across the room becomes difficult. And I don't want to get to that point. I don't want my body to break down like that.
No, I don't either.
You know? And it doesn't have to. No. I've seen, you know, you can YouTube 90-year-olds doing yoga, and they move like they're in their 40s. But that's because they've been faithful to, you know, doing some sort of discipline. You know, and DDP yoga has been a really good one for me because it's enjoyable. It's easy. It's really not a threat. You don't have to be an acrobat.
That's
good. You know, you just meet yourself where you are. I still can't do certain things. I'm not really that acrobatic. Some people can do handstands and headstands, and I don't do that stuff. But I do what works for me, and I take it to my own level. And that's what it's intended for, is you don't have to be a pretzel. That's not the object. The object is just to do it and get stronger and feel better.
That's right. So I am so glad you have written these books. I loved your first book, and I have to say I did try the steel-cut oats for breakfast with fruit, and it was delicious.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's really amazing, and I'm definitely going to try your desserts. And I recommend this book to everyone. Not only the book, but the lifestyle change. You're never too old to get younger, right?
Absolutely. And you could just think of it as adding a few healthy things in. You don't have to completely turn your world upside down, but just try some of this and see how you like it, and just, you know, add it in every now and then.
And it's a new year. What a great start for your year. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you again for having me.
And I can attest to the deliciousness of your desserts. Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks, Christine.